You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
Hello and welcome back to Directing Magic. Today, my wonderful old friend, guest extraordinaire, Tamika Guishard is here with me today. We've been trying to get this together for quite a while in terms of having her come on the show. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Tamika.
Thank you for having me. Friday night. Yay. Good thing I don't have a life. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yes. Friday nights as a filmmaker, as a female filmmaker, it's a thing. It's real fun. But you have been working on a feature film project for quite a while. It was originally called D-Days. And now what is the new title?
Yes. Rhythm and Blues.
Rhythm and Blues. How did you come up with the new title? Because I know you were really attached to the old one for quite a while.
Yes. Basically the film is based on a show that I produced back in 2000 as an undergraduate in Philadelphia. And the original show is called D-Day Omo D-Day, which is kind of like a Yoruba loose translation of Rise Child Rise. So in kind of sticking to that, like it became just D-Day and then it became D-Days. And then it was like, well, how do you get D-Day? And then I had to like explain the root of it. And it was like, I was trying to like relate it to like actual D-Day, which is like Pearl Harbor, but people were thinking about World War II. It was just weird. So, but the story has now taken on a life of its own. Like it is inspired by that initial dance show, but it's now really an ensemble piece. So that initial through line is really now flanked by very meaty arcs of the other protagonists. So in my relationship with my new producer and kind of rebranding and everything like that, we really tried to get to the heart of it, which is like, you know, these foster kids, you know, really leaning on each other and finding love and solace in a world that is kind of like not designed for them to get ahead. So how can we key in on like the rhythmic aspect of the film, the musical aspect of the film, and still keep that like the reality of the film. So that's how we came up with Rhythm and Blues and shortened it to R&B. We call it R&B.
Oh, okay, nice. What's the musical aspect of the movie or the screenplay?
So it's based on a West African dance show that I produced back in undergrad. And the choreographer, Jeffrey Page, is this like choreographer extraordinaire. And essentially, in the film and adapting the story for the screen, basically I'm taking the dance group that I was in when I produced it and putting the dance group on screen. So the Shiro, Jackie, she is in the dance group. West African rhythms are very purposeful. So, you know, you may have a family of rhythms for, you know, to celebrate maturation. You may have a family of rhythms for prayer. You may have a family of rhythms for war, for healing. So, those rhythms and their purpose kind of guides the film and kind of guides the relationships in the film. But she is the dancer. So she's the one actually, it's not like a danceicle. It's not like they're like talking and then they just break out break dancing. Like it's actual like rehearsals and performances. So yeah, that's kind of how the dance kind of, or the rhythms kind of push the film. But just to give you an example, one of the first big pieces is a piece called Babaluaye, which is a Yoruba kind of Orisha piece by way of Cuba. And Babaluaye is an Orisha who represents healing and epidemics. And like in our film, we're like applying it to like the crack epidemic, you know? So just kind of taking those traditional purposes of the rhythms and applying it to like contemporary life.
Mm-hmm. You said you have a new producer. How did you find her? It's always I ask this question. It's no, yeah. I'm always curious about how people build their team around. Period. You know, as filmmakers, and so I'm curious about how you found the person that you're working with now, and what happened to make you know for sure this is the person you want to be working with.
Mm-hmm. So her name is Aditoro Makinde. She is pretty fabulous. So I met her. She co-founded Women Independent Producers, WIP, which is like a group that meets here in New York, and they're like a offshoot of Film Fatales. And so I was at a Film Fatales meeting. And like co-chair of like diversity on Film Fatales or something like that. So basically we met at a Film Fatales meeting back in 2016. Yeah, so about 2 years ago. And yeah, we just hit it off. I mean, as one of like two faces of color there, you know, it's how it is. Mm-hmm. Like we just like talked and shared with each other our projects. And she's Nigerian American. So in kind of sharing my log line and, you know, the genesis of my project, she was pretty interested, but she's super busy, which, you know, producers, like, I mean, the thing is, it's like a woman in this case, like you want to help other women, especially Black women, but it's like, yo, I gotta wear all the hats myself. Like, I want to help you, but like, dang, I'm over here doing everything, you know? So she was super busy. She was interested. And we just kept in touch. And then I think what happened, like I sent her an email, but like I try to like not be too like aggressive when I like really like want to like read something. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, let's get tea or something. But I didn't like send her the script, you know what I mean? But then I didn't hear back from her. So then I just kind of went along my way. I needed some producers. I hooked up with some folks. And then fast forward, but I would still see her around. Sure. So like, you know, every few months we'd bump into each other and she'd be like, oh, how's the project? Or, you know, blah, blah, blah. So then I was in IFP. I was at IFP with the project last fall in September. Mm-hmm. And that's when we really reconnected. And she was
Can you tell people what IFP is?
Sure. IFP is Independent Filmmaker Project, a program, I think, one of them. And they had like a week of like events, and they select like 20 or 25 narrative features in development to be honing on, and you connect with a bunch of folks in the industry around your project, a bunch of meetings, and then like they had this great programming, and they're pretty much like a incubator for independent film and independent filmmakers, and based in Brooklyn. And the Scott McCauley Filmmaker Magazine, like Filmmaker Magazine is like a publication of IFP. So our project was one of the 25 or 20 that were selected last year. So I saw her, and they had like a producers roundtable. Again, they had like this week of events. So I saw her at the producers roundtable there, and she was like, oh, like, congratulations. Like, how's the project going? Like, you know, you're here with it. And that's when we really reconnected. And at that point, I was transitioning, like, you know, for my old team, kind of like my old producers. So we just, and then I sent her the script. And then like, literally like the next week, she was like, I'm on it. She was like, this is it. Like, what do we, like, next steps? Because she also had a time in her life when she was pretty much raising herself in Washington, D.C. So the story of these foster kids, although she was never like technically in the system in DC, she definitely knows what it's like to like not have a place to lay your head, have to navigate, you know, things that adults probably couldn't navigate, So that's why the script really spoke to her. And she's also, again, like I think the film, one of the reasons I'm excited for this film is like the way it kind of looks at the diaspora. Like it's a very Brooklyn story, but it's like African, and then we find out one is Jamaican. It's like, we're all black, but we're all from Africa, you know what I mean? So she being Nigerian American also really connected with like that aspect of the diaspora and kind of like the globalness of the story, although it was like based in Brooklyn. And she's also a passionate dancer. So like, yeah, after she read the script, she's really into dance. So, after she read the script, like literally like the next week, she was like, okay, so what are we doing next? And then she came on in like October. And then like by November or December, we got a IFP fellowship and I got a residency. But yeah, like I knew she was the one because her connection was just so authentic. And yeah, like she like we butt heads about stuff all the time, you know what I mean? But it's all toward like making the project better, making sure that the people who need to see it. Like one of her ideas was to take some of the investment and start a college fund for foster kids, you know what I mean? Because it's like we're looking at, what happens with these kids when they age out of the system, so things like that. She's like really, thinking of the film on, like that kind of producer level that like I was trying to do before, but it wouldn't really happen.
Well, I think the thing that's really one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because I feel like you're, in addition to being a filmmaker, I feel like you're also an educator, like by nature.
Yeah.
All of your day jobs that I know of have had some like relationship to that, and you have a master's in education and all the things, right? So I was just like, I wonder, like, had she thought about kind of overlapping those two things with each other, her educator self and her filmmaker self? And it seems like you're going in that direction, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to like bring those parts of myself together finally. So right now, I got into film because of education. Like I love movies, but I really see film and cinema as a really powerful means to educate and engender critical thinking. And I think a lot of people, when they think of educational cinema or educational video, think of like dry stuff, but it's like, at the end of the day, cinema is like one of the only mediums that can collapse multiple intelligences. And you can have like funny, like Golden Girls was hella educational, but it's like you was laughing every day. You know what I mean? Like, no. But like that's how I first learned about like what you call it. I'm telling you, that's how I learned about what you call it, addiction to prescription drugs from Golden Girls. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like it's there are ways to like really tap into critical thinking and critical topics, that defy genre. And cinema is fascinating in that way. So that's really why I got into filmmaking. And that being said, like, right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of rebranding and rebuilding my website. So it kind of encompasses both sides of that. So it is a creative part, which is like writer, direct stuff, fiction, nonfiction. And then there's a consultative part. So I work with educational organizations, nonprofits, districts, and help them use cinema to optimize their organizations and really to strengthen relationships with their stakeholders. So whatever that may look like. So right now, like I freelance as a video producer for an organization called Great Minds, which is a nonprofit that specializes in Common Core state-aligned curriculum. And Common Core state standards are national performance standards. They're very rigorous. Mm-hmm. And what I do as a video producer with them is I shoot instruction in various school districts where their curriculum is being implemented, and then I help them make videos that engender professional learning for the teachers who are actually on the ground and have to implement this curriculum. Mm-hmm. So, essentially, I want people to be able to come to my site, like a home base, and then see, what education in cinema can look like, on the ground, at the grassroots level, and, in the theater, on the entertainment level.
And are you creating curriculum for rhythms and blues? Rhythm and blues?
Yes. The idea, rhythm and blues, R&B. Yeah. So the idea is to actually build out a curriculum that is Common Core state aligned with rhythm and blues, which is that's why I love my day job, because I'm just I get all the knowledge. And I ultimately I'm still in close contact with educators that I used to work with when I used to teach middle school and stuff like that. So we want to build out a curriculum that is Common Core state aligned, and also that speaks to multiple intelligences. I'm big on that because not everyone learns the same way. Not everyone learns by just reading or just writing, or, mm-hmm. Some people need rhythm. Some people need to be in the natural world. And, so with the curriculum, in addition to making sure that it's aligned to standards, state standards, really looking at how to bring it out off the page. So there may be a part of it where, viewers watch the film and then learn the dances from the film. One of the, and then, have that be a gateway into, talks about the diaspora, one of the characters in the film, he's a rapper and a hustler, but he's also a gardener. So what are the implications of green space in, urban communities, and, what does that do for him? So really looking at how to make it a multifaceted interdisciplinary experience. We're really looking to, of course we want theatrical distribution, and we want the big world premiere and everything, but we also want educational distribution, and to make sure that communities that don't necessarily go to film festivals are able to benefit from the film.
So do you have a new timeline for shooting it?
Yeah, so we're looking to shoot this fall.
Hey.
We have the talent.
Oh.
So now we need the money. But we got some good folks. Yeah. So we have Tristan Mac Wiles attached to play the soldier. And then we have Curtis Cook Jr. attached to play the hustler, Don. And then Kelly will be reprising her role as Jackie.
So for people who don't know me and Tamika, we worked on Jackie, the short film version of this script a few years ago. And Kelly, what is her last name? I want to say Kelly Jo something.
Kelly Janelle.
Kelly Janelle. She was the lead in the short film Jackie, which was, really well received from the film festival market, and has really, I feel like it was a big success for you as a filmmaker, right?
It was. I mean, it was my thesis at NYU, and it was every time I think back to that experience, I'm always Mara came in with the cape, just fluid. But it was really my first time truly getting to be a director on set. Like I said, like, you know, you wear all these hats, right? And I that was the first time, like, I was just able to focus on performance, just like performance and shots. And it's the same director of photography, Sibel Martin, who will shoot the feature. One of like 2 Black women cinematographers that are like in the union. So yeah, it was like, and that's what was born from it. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, that experience really is what, kind of stoked the flame for me, in terms of working with actors. Like, I love, like, my 2 favorite parts of being a director or a filmmaker or whatever are, I love writing and I love working with actors. It's like the beginning and like, it's like, those are like, cause you know, writing is like one thing, like one aspect of filmmaking that you could just do on your own. It's like the only one. And then like, but working with actors, that synergy, like when you have something in your head, and like, I think before Jackie, the battle was like, okay, I want what's in my head on the screen. But then it's like, when you work with an actor who is so in character, they show you things that the character would do that you did not even think of. Like, that is so much fun. And then it's like, you build on that, and it's like, that part is like amazing. And Jackie, I'm always so grateful to you, because Jackie was like the first time that like I actually experienced that, you know? So, yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. That's definitely what I'm looking forward to in shooting again, and really happy to have like such phenomenal talent attached to the film.
When you talk about the actor bringing something to the character that you didn't anticipate already, as a director, what is something that you do to help them get into that space, to find those things that you weren't expecting?
Well, I try to really create a safe space for them, to really, because it's like a line between like, you want them to be in the character, but then you want them to be like themselves in the character, if that makes sense. So like relaxed as that person, you know? So one of the things that I do, and the executive producer, Seth Mann, he's a person who kind of helped me with this, is I just like hang out with my actors. So like before we rehearse, like we just go get drinks, or you know, we really just like bond. So like I see like how they are when they're loose. You know, and then it's like, okay, if we're shooting a scene where you're drinking, there's no wine in there, but like, I know what you do when you drink, you know what I mean? So things like that, really trying my best to make sure my actors feel safe and, feel like they can take risks. I am not one of those directors who can just like come in a room and be like, put the camera here. Like, I'm like very like litigious about like angles and placement and stuff like that, because I want to make my day. But in rehearsal, I will have actors improv in rehearsal, and then like use like the kernels from the improv on set. So like, you know, like if it's something that really just like took the scene to the next level, make that note. And then, you know, when we're on set, incorporate that into my direction on set, you know, especially if we have like time for like an extra take, or just like use that to like, you know, like basically almost like guided improv. So, but it's like the same thing I find as an educator, across the board. Like when you want students to really like go to the next level, like they're not going to do it if they don't feel safe in your classroom.
Right. You
know, like if you are using all types of like, if it's always about, you know, punishment, or if it's always about timing, or if it's always about like, if they don't feel like they can trust you, they're going to do just enough, you know, and same thing for teachers. It's like, it's the same principles, like school leaders and teachers have the same thing. It's like, you know, we're in a society where we want teachers to be like these superhuman people, but you know, we have all these like restrictions, and we have all these like everything is so they're so vulnerable to like punishment. But then it's like, well, why didn't you just take that? Like, why didn't you just go off the thing with this lesson? It's like, well, how? Like, when? How, Sway? So it's like, you know, similarly with your actors, you know, you want them to trust you, and I try to like build that trust beforehand, and then see what comes from it.
So, so you guys are shooting this fall, and directing wise, like what's the main thing you want to accomplish in the next 6 months or before you shoot, like to prepare?
I need to watch like 50 million movies. I need to watch more movies. Like my brain, like every night, because it's like I'm always on. So like when I do sit in front of the screen, like I'm watching something mindless. Like I'm trying to turn my brain off. But like I need to like really key into like, no, you still have to study. So like one of my main goals is watching like a movie a day, or at least like 3 movies a week. Like my DP is so good at that. She's like texting me like, oh, like twice a week. She's like, okay, watch this. I'm watching this. I'm watching, you know, and I'm like, girl, yes. So like I need to watch a gang of movies.
She is, Sibel, she's not, I mean, not only is that her thing, but like she's created like a movement of watch a film a day. If you're on Twitter, which I know you're really not, but if you were, like, she has this like hashtag NFOTD. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, but anyway, it's the initials of new film of the day, and so she literally will post like every day, I'm watching this, and she'll like live tweet it, which is really awesome. Like she makes me feel bad. I have to watch stuff for work, and I'm like, dang, I haven't seen that. Like, she really has. She is so serious about that. And I can see how it informs her work as a DP, which is really wonderful. So I'm down for that for you. Get into it one a day. One a day.
Yes, and that's like my big goal.
She has rules too. Like you can't, like a television series, only the pilot counts. Because after that,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, she's real, like for real. But anyway, if you ever get a chance, you guys check out hashtag NFOTD. So, okay. So watch a bunch of movies. Anything else that you're going to do to prepare?
Well, I'm being more disciplined about actually going to dance class. So at least once a week, I'm in dance class.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that, like, not watching as many movies as I would like does mean that, like, my perspective is like no one else's, because it's like it's just out my mind. But still, so yeah, going to dance class, and then also like workshopping scenes. So I'm doing this residency now in Brooklyn, Fancy Unlimited, and they have this really cool church space in Carroll Gardens. It's called Residency Unlimited. It's like a fellowship for artists across disciplines. The scope is really more like international, and bringing people into Brooklyn and like letting Brooklyn be kind of like a way to cultivate kind of an international perspective and art and interdisciplinary. But they do select like 3 US based artists. So I'm one of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that, like, I'm gonna really try to use that space to like workshop scenes. And yeah, like I have like, and just really try to work with actors before I like get to my set. That's a big goal.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, what are you excited about right now that has nothing to do with your movie?
Oh, well. So I did this fellowship in Toronto, and it was like awesome. So I'm still like really, I've had great relationships, and it's called Black Women Film Canada, and they have like a partnership with TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival, and it's literally like a leadership institute for Black women filmmakers across Canada, but they take 2 non-Canadians. So I just got up in there, and it was like, absolutely amazing. Like, I was the only Black woman in my class at NYU. So like, I was literally pinching myself like the whole 3 weeks. I was just like, what is this? So it was kind of like, I call it like, it was very informative because like each workshop, it spanned from like cinematography to producing to writing for series. And each workshop was led by a Black woman, a woman of color. But it did not shy away from the very unique, distinct experience that Black women have in this space. So it was kind of like, it was cathartic, but then like so educative. It was just this amazing like thing. So that was cool.
Can you say more about that? Because I mean, I had the same NYU experience being the one Black girl in my class. So
right.
What did they, if they said anything about like, besides, I want to say like the loneliness of it, but what did they say about being our particular place within, I don't know, the creative industry?
Well, it was just like a safe space to like, just like acknowledge like, okay, I'm a director, but like people are not used to taking direction from people that look like me. So what you do with that? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and then just like calling it what it is, talking about how you navigated it, posturing ways to kind of navigate it better the next time, knowing that you have a circle of support, just being real about it. So that we had conversations like that would like bookend like a really great TV series workshop. You know what I mean? Like it would. So it was just like each day was really meticulously planned so that you were really in the moment and really taking in the experience and like expanding your mind, but also knowing that like you could be your whole self here. So that was so cool, and that I think really kickstarted my energy for like this year. So yeah, I'm excited for just like to continue those relationships. Like I'm like I'm from Toronto. I'm not from Toronto, but
no, it's so clear.
Whatever.
You're from Brooklyn, or Queens.
Well, I live in Queens. I'm from Brooklyn. I can't really afford Brooklyn no more. But yeah, the film takes place in East New York. I'm also excited because I'm writing. I wrote a TV pilot based on my experiences as a park ranger, and it was picked up by Nashville Film Festival last year. So I'm still like firming that up and like polishing it, but I'm excited for that because again, my big thing is like education in filmmaking, and a lot of people, when they think of park rangers, they don't think of like Black people or national parks, but like national parks are for everybody. And so that's really, it's kind of like a Black Parks and Rec in Manhattan. Yeah. So that's what I'm kind of firming that up. And then I'm excited for my website, revamping it and kind of like bringing my identities together. And I wrote another script that's kind of it's a STEM driven script called
STEM.
The Numbers Game, and it's like science, technology, engineering, math. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like Cold Case meets Insecure. It's like a murder mystery. So it's like, looking at like just how the numbers, like, because, I mean, a lot of people don't know this about me. Like, I'm just now getting used to the label of artist, but I'm left-handed, but I'm also like left-brained. I really like math. I really like universal stuff, like stuff that like everybody could key in on. And numbers is like, numbers don't lie. So like, but it's hard to prove like my affinity for math because there's no math on my college transcript because I was doing like AP calculus in like 11th grade and linear algebra in 12th grade. So I didn't take any math, which is why I ended up teaching social studies because they were like, we don't believe you. And I was just like, well, okay. But anyway, so I'm really excited about this script because it's like my math stuff is coming back. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yes, just get in these stats. So that's exciting. And then, just like, I'm meeting a lot of people and just like cultivating some really great relationships. So yeah.
I feel like you're really good at cultivating relationships, like in networking in general. Like, do you have a personal, you really are. Every time I turn around, you be like, and I met with this person and we talked about this. I'm like, how did she do that? Like, what's the secret to it? If there is one.
That's funny. Thank you, Marquette, because I feel like I think that, I like talking to people. Like, I really do enjoy exchanging interpersonally in real life. Like, I think that's part of the reason, like, I'm not really on social media because I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. Like, I would sound like a straight jerk if I tried to, like, condense my thoughts into, like, a few bites. I'd sound like a nut. But I find that, like, if I'm in a space where I can just organically exchange with people, then I just am myself. And then I just like to learn about people. So it's weird though, because like if I have to go to like a network function, I'm just like, like I get so much anxiety. I'm just like, because like, I don't know, it's like now you're on stage, you know what I mean? Like everyone's here for networking. But I would say if I had to distill it, I would say just share about yourself, but also ask people about what they do. Because a lot of like networking, it's like people are just like constantly on the pitch or constantly like trying to like get their idea across or like make sure you remember me. But it's like what makes you more memorable is when you can pull things out from other people. Because then it's like, oh yeah, because people, especially in this industry, they get pitched at all the time, you know, and like that's one thing at IFP that really came to the forefront. Like, no, like find out what they need, what they're working on, you know, what brought them into this industry, like, you know, and that 9 times out of 10 will make you stand out more than like a perfect pitch.
Well, awesome. I think that is a a really great way to end it. I'm going to take that away from it. Like, oh, yes, let me ask the person about themselves. Even if I really don't care. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm like, really curious about people. So I will let that shine in real life a lot more. Well, sweet. So we have big things to look forward to in 2018 from you. I'm really happy to hear that you have found at least one of your, or several of your teammates that are going to bring this to the big stage, the big screen. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, there's a ride or dies, right? So Sabella's been there from jump.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Seath Man, he's been there from jump. Jeffrey Page, he's been there for jump. You know, as DP, producer, EP, choreographer. But, you know, now we have like the cape, you know, the part 2 of the caped woman coming in.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. So, and thank you for having me on the show. This was a lot of fun. You know, we always get our best stuff, girl. So
I'm really glad that we finally like made this happen. Like, pick a time, let's do it. Okay, so how do people find you if it's not Twitter? How do we keep track of what's going on with you?
Okay, so you can email me at begoodfilmtv@gmail.com. So B is in boy, good is in the opposite of bad. Be good. filmtv@gmail.com.
Awesome. And then your website, what's the address going to be?
It's good. Well, it's still in the works, but it will be guishardfilms.com. So you spell my name Guishard, or GU is hard because I am, films.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And please keep me posted on how it goes.
For sure. And good luck to you with all your projects.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. This is fun. Thanks again. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.